Alright, good evening folks, it's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to another short war video, and today we have very big news. As the invasion of mainland Russia enters the 6th day, we're hearing that Russia is vowing a very harsh response to the Ukrainian forces, which are invading their territory, and we're really not sure what that response might look like, but of course, the Russians are back to their usual threats once again, and now we're hearing of a major drone attack in Voronezh, which is a Russian city, which is right on the border of the embattled Kursk Oblast, and finally, we're hearing that Russian forces are very worried that Ukrainian forces are sneaking up behind their rear lines, stealing their equipment, and then attacking them from the rear positions as the Ukrainians advance. But with that, we're jumping into our first article of the day, which goes to Politico Europe. And right here in this post, we can see that the Russian Foreign Ministry today said that Moscow's forces will deliver a tough response to Ukraine's surprise incursion into Russian territory, which included a massive missile attack on the border region of Kursk overnight. And as we can see, Moscow is having a very hard time battling the Ukrainians, which are entering their territory at record speed, and now they're whipping out the good old line of a tough response, which kind of implies a nuclear threat in my opinion. But of course, Russia always says things like this, so don't take it, too seriously. Take it with a grain of salt. We'll have to see exactly what the response looks like, because right now we really have no idea, except for they're throwing around the tough words once again. But with that, we're seeing here in our next post from Status 6 Military and Conflict News that once again the Russian Foreign Ministry said that a harsh response will be coming very, very soon. That's the time frame we're given, so that's very vague. So we're not really sure when the response is going to happen, but allegedly it will happen soon, so it's up for debate. But with that, we're jumping into our next article here, which goes to Nexta. And we're starting to see photos of the large columns of AFU armored vehicles crossing the border into Sumy region and also advancing in the Kursk region. And we can see here that agency reporters said they saw military vehicles with an identification mark in the form of a white triangle, and it's used to identify armored vehicles involved in operations in the Kursk region. So taking a look at one of these photos right here, you can see the white triangle right here on the front of the vehicle, and there are the Ukrainian soldiers right there on top. So of course, they are very happy to be here. As you can see, they're in good spirits, unlike the Russians. And also, this is the new marking right here that we're seeing on some of the AFU vehicles that are going around the region. But with that, we're moving into our next article here, which goes to OSINT Technical. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we've seen a large UAV strike in Voronezh overnight. And right here, it says Ukrainian forces conducted a broad UAV strike in Voronezh with over a dozen Ukrainian attack drones spotted operating over the Russian Oblast. And also, like I mentioned earlier as well, Voronezh borders the embattled Kursk Oblast. And we actually have a video here of the drone flying in, so let's take a look at that video. And right there's the drone flying right into Voronezh, flying through peacefully actually, and what's the Russian air defense doing? It's doing absolutely nothing, because this drone's able to get through pretty much untouched, which is quite amazing to see, just proving that the Russians have no air defense in the area. But not only did we see the drone fly in, but here in our next post, which goes to Nexta, we also hear from the regional governor of Voronezh that the drone debris damaged buildings in Russia's Voronezh city, and also he said that 15 drones had been shot down overnight, and also that an administrative building and a municipal facility had been damaged. So I'm not really sure if the reports here from the Russian regional governor are completely accurate, because we did see that drone fly in, and also there is damage being reported here, so it's up to debate whether or not you believe the Russians and you think it's simply drone debris, or whether or not the drones made it all the way through undisturbed by air defense and actually hit their targets. But nonetheless, let's take a look at the damage. So here's our first piece of damage right here. There's a large fire coming out the side of this building, and there's the infamous Russian fire department, and I love heckling them because they're very incompetent. But moving here into our next video, we're going to jump over to our second one, which is going to show some more damage. So let's take a look at this one. And as you can see, there's an impact right there from something. It looks like a drone actually hitting the area, unlike what the Russians claim. They claim they shot down a lot of them, but there's one right there hitting the ground. So clearly the Russians did not get all of them, and there's an impact. So Voronezh was smashed last night, and it's a good victory for the Ukrainians, and once again the Russians are having a bad day. But with that, we're jumping into our next article here, which also goes to Nexta. And in this post right here, we see AFU soldiers planting a Ukrainian flag in the village of Gievo, which is in the Kursk region of Russia, and earlier it was reported that the Ukrainians are gradually advancing in the region, and I would say that they're more than gradually advancing. I would say that they're rapidly advancing, because the village of Gievo here is actually a very, very quick succession of other villages that have been taken by the Ukrainian forces, and this is just a testament to how fast they're moving. But nonetheless, let's take a look at the video. So taking a look at the video, and I had to mute the audio because there was a soundtrack in it, but you can see right here they are wiping their feet on the Russian flag, kind of like it deserves, really. And you can see right here they're putting up a Ukrainian flag on the side of the building. It appears to be an administrative building in the village of Gievo. So once again, the Ukrainians are claiming a new victory here, and this guy's even taking a TikTok of it because you got to celebrate the moment, and he's doing it in bold style. So I love to see it right here. Ukrainians are once again climbing up the side of a building. That's actually kind of athletic right there. He's climbed up the building with no support. It's kind of weird. But he's very athletic, actually. Look at that. But anyways, we're jumping into our next article here after we learned about this major victory in Gievo. And this one goes to Visegrad 24. And right here in this post, we can see another case of the Ukrainian army capturing Russian soldiers in the Kursk region. And once again, the Ukrainians are capturing so many Russian soldiers, they really don't know what to do with them at this point. And I guess that's a good problem to have, because that means you're not having to fight them and also take them out. This is actually a good problem to have, unlike the Russians who currently have a civilian crisis on their hands. It looks like the Ukrainians are taking on so many troops that they're not sure what to do. So let's take a look at the video. And right here you can see the Ukrainians loading up the Russians in what appears to be a cargo truck or a supply truck of some sort. But once again, the Russians seem to be pretty malleable and compliant with actually going with the Ukrainians here. Of course, they are being held at gunpoint, so that's a bit of a different story. But they are being loaded up and taken back somewhere, but we're really not sure where. So right now, the Russians are surrendering en masse, and also it's only speeding up and getting worse as the invasion goes on. And with that, we're moving into our next article here, which goes to OSINT Technical. And in this post, we're learning of some panic and hysteria which is spreading amongst the Russian forces, and also it's causing a lot of fear in the Russian soldiers that they might be being attacked from the rear by Ukrainian forces. And it says in the post that in the Kursk Oblast, Russian channels are spreading rumors that Ukrainian SOF units are operating in the Russian rear area using captured Russian equipment to blend in and conduct attacks. And specifically, they're claiming that the Ukrainians are erasing identification marks on the units and the equipment to try to fool the Russians and then attack them from the rear. And honestly, we're actually not sure that if this is actually the case or not. Right now, this is only a Russian rumor in a Russian Telegram channel, so we're really not sure if this is actually the case. But whatever the case is, this is not helping the morale of the Russian troops, because right now they're being told that there might be enemies in their ranks, and that now they're very worried and paranoid, while they're also trying to battle in advance, which they really can't stop from the Ukrainians. So this is very interesting to hear right here. But moving into our next post, we have one from Nexta. And not only are there rumors of Ukrainian forces sneaking behind enemy lines and attacking from the rear, but also the trees have eyes as well. And right now, Ukrainian military has hacked into CCTV cameras in Russia's Kursk region, and this allows the Ukrainians to control the movement of Russian troops and also to target them with pinpoint strikes. So the Ukrainians are really starting to live up to the reputation of a boogeyman. So let's take a look at the video and see the Russian forces being spied on. And right here you see there's a good old Ruski Blyat. He's walking right here past the CCTV camera, and he has no idea that the enemy is spying on him from his own surveillance camera in his own territory. So they think that they're moving around undisturbed and also unsurveilled, but they are wrongly mistaken. They are sadly mistaken as well. These guys right here are being spied on by the Ukrainians, and of course the Ukrainians will be catching up to these guys later to teach them a lesson, and hopefully they will surrender pretty quick, because that's probably what's best for them. But with that, we're moving into our next article here, and this one is going to go to Nexta as well. And kind of like we discussed last night on the stream, right now there's a major civil crisis which is developing in Russia as the Russians try to evacuate from the occupied territory that's being occupied by Ukraine. Right now we're seeing Russians are evacuating themselves from dangerous places in Kursk using motorboats, and they're getting away on rivers and also bodies of water. And right now Putin says that he's going to try to help people evacuate, but we're really not seeing that in mass. Right now it looks like the Russians are running off instead of helping people evacuate. So let's take a look at the video and see them escaping in a motorboat. So right here you can see the Russian civilians apparently getting in or out of a boat from the river, whatever this is right here, and that they use that method to escape from the territory where Ukraine is advancing. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I hate to see the civilians getting caught up in this, because of course this is a fight between two governments, the Ukrainian government and the Russian government. But you know, it is what it is. This is part of war, and even though civilians have been displaced and it's going to be a crisis, it is what it is, and hopefully the Russian government will help these people out instead of letting them suffer, you know, any more than they already are under Putin's regime in the first place. So it is what it is, but as you can see, they're getting very desperate to leave, and the Russian government is not helping them evacuate the way that they claim that they are. So with that, we're going to move on to our next post, and this one is going to go to War Translated. And in this post right here, we see the head of the Belovsky district of the Kursk region said the situation in the municipality is tense, and according to him, the incomprehensible situation with the entry of Ukrainian sabotage groups caused panic, and he urged everyone to evacuate the area. And as we can see, the Ukrainian armed armed forces continue to carry out successful, not only military but also psychological operations on the territory of the aggressor. And I must admit, the Ukrainian armed forces are doing a number on the Russians right now with the psychological operations, also the really good OPSEC this time, and also the really good military advances into the territory. But let's take a look at the video right here and see what these guys have to say. And real quick, before the video starts, I just want to say, if your city administration looks like this right here, like they just woke up and rolled out of bed and put on their Sunday clothes, I would be pretty scared myself. But anyways, let's see what they have to say. They said, "Good day, dear residents of the Kursk Oblast in the Volskaya district." And they go on to say that together with the Kursk Oblast administration, "I'm in the central square of Belaya Sloboda." He said, "Sadly, yesterday's events of the entry of sabotage groups to our territory created a lot of chaos and panic." Geez, I wonder why. He said, "As of now, the situation is stable but very tense." And he goes on to add that something about the border areas is unclear to us. Let's see, "I'm asking all residents to remain calm and not to panic. And those who left the Belovsky district, I'm asking them to stay where they are." That sounds like a terrible idea. He says, "I also appeal to residents who are still here." And he goes on to add that if you want to leave, speak to the village heads. And he says the administration of the Belovsky region, the Kursk administration, will provide buses and all the residents will be evacuated. Now, I'm going to have to call cap on this last statement right here because right now, the buses which are evacuating the civilians have actually run out of gas, according to the reports, and they're not able to get anybody else out, and that's why you see people evacuating in motorboats, because these guys right here are incompetent, just like they look, and they were not able to make sure that they had enough equipment and also gas in place to be able to get these people out on the buses. So right now, it's a bit of a disaster. Putin is not there to save them, and also these guys right here are definitely not going to save them. So they'll probably have to get out on their own. But with that, we're jumping into our next post here, which goes to Nexta. And right here, we see that Russian troops are building fortifications south of Kurchatov, where the Kursk nuclear power plant is located, according to satellite images. And earlier, pro-war channels also showed videos of the construction of dugouts in the region. And yes, we did. We showed that last night on our stream, the videos of the construction dugouts. So that is what it is. They're currently trying to basically fortify the Kursk nuclear power plant to try to hold on to it. And right now, we haven't gotten any more updates on how close the Ukrainian troops are to the Kursk plant, but of course, they are very close, according to the last reports. I would say within 10 kilometers or so. So if they want to take the plant, it is certainly on the table, and that might be coming in the next couple of days, and we'll simply have to wait and see if the Ukrainians try to take the nuclear plant. And with that, we're moving into our final article of the day, which goes to Nexta, and we're getting some more analysis from the AFP, which is a pretty large news organization, what they think the ultimate end goal is from the invasion of mainland Russia by Ukrainian forces. And we can see here, according to Nexta, the AFP believes that the Ukrainian offensive in the Kursk region aims to expand the positions of Russian troops and destabilize the country, and quote-unquote, the goal is to stretch the enemy's positions, inflict maximum losses, and destabilize Russia because it's unable to defend its border, said a Ukrainian official on a condition of anonymity, and the agency source noted that Ukraine would strictly observe the international humanitarian law. And right now, honestly, it's anyone's best guess what Ukraine's actually going for in this situation, because it's very confusing exactly what their end goal is, but it looks like the AFP believes that they're trying to destabilize Russia by invading the border villages, and that certainly is possible because the civilian problem that's being created because of all the people trying to evacuate from the border regions, that could certainly create a big destabilization as the civilians have nowhere to go, and right now Russia's trying to build tent cities to house them, but they don't have any food to give them. So it's about to create a very large humanitarian crisis on the Russian territory, which is going to put significant pressure on the Putin regime to figure this out or end it very quickly. So it could be the case that they're trying to destabilize it, but I kind of have another theory in my own opinion. If I had to take a stab at what the Ukrainians are actually doing here, I would say they're probably going for a land grab to do a land for land exchange after they get enough territory in the Kursk Oblast and also the Belgrade Oblast to trade that for the occupied territories inside Ukraine. That is currently my guess and my educated opinion on the matter, but of course that's a crapshoot, just like the AFP's opinion is a crapshoot right now, because really no one knows. And also, the Ukrainian official spoke on anonymity, so I take anonymous sources with a grain of salt, and until I see actual Ukrainian come out officially saying that, then I'm going to hold off on actually believing this 100%. But let me know down in the comments below what y'all think about this, because right now it's up for debate what is actually the end game for Ukraine. Let me know down in the comments below, because I'm very curious to hear what y'all think as well. But with that, that is actually our last piece of news for the day, so I hope you found today's video informative, and also, before you go, please press the like button and also subscribe to the channel as well if you're not already subscribed to get more daily war updates just like this one. We enjoy putting them out, and also we enjoy seeing that people appreciate the reporting and also the good news coming out. So with that, we'll see you all tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern on our nightly war news stream, and also be sure to join us then, because we'll cover all the remaining news throughout the day that we have not gotten to in a short war video. And also, if you want to support the channel financially, you can do so on our Patreon page, and the link is in the description below for Patreon, where you can go over there and sign up for a monthly membership and support the channel in a big way financially. And of course, we're largely crowdfunded by the viewers, so that does mean a lot to us. But with that, we'll see you all tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, and bye bye for now.